Hey, this is Chad Nelsen, the CEO of the Surfrider Foundation. Welcome to the latest episode of The Current, where we take a little deeper dive into issues that are important to the Surfrider Foundation and to the protection of our ocean waves and beaches. This episode, we're going to talk about plastic pollution in the age of COVID and how Surfrider's data collection is driving policy change. And I'm really excited to have Jennie Romer, legal associate for Surfrider's Plastic Pollution Initiative and a nationally recognized expert on plastic policy, to join us to have this discussion. So Jennie, great to see you. Thanks for zooming in.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chad.
COVID has obviously had all kinds of impacts on society. It's been very challenging, and unfortunately, it's also having a big impact at our beaches. So in this COVID era, we're actually seeing more people go down to our beaches and use the beaches nationwide, which is generally a positive thing. However, there's a perfect storm of plastic pollution sort of happening, and that's happening for a number of reasons. A, more people are coming to the beaches. B, we've seen rollbacks in some of our really important plastic regulations. More takeout, because that's all you can do at restaurants, and that's single-use plastic oftentimes. And a new source of plastic pollution, which is personal protective equipment, PPE. So as a result of all of those things, we're really seeing an explosion of trash at our beaches, which is terrible. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about sort of what Surfrider normally would do during the summertime to try to help solve at least part of that problem, and how we're adjusting our programs in this current age.
Sure. Well, I would say that Surfrider we're known in part for our beach cleanups. And right now, we're not able to have those group activities. So instead, we're encouraging our supporters and our chapter volunteers to head out on their own solo beach cleanups. And as a policy person, what I really like about our beach cleanups is our data card. So our data card lets our volunteers mark down all the things that they've found on the beach cleanups, and that really can direct our policy.
Beach cleanups are a significant activity at Surfrider. They're really educational, because if you see all this different types of plastic pollution on the beach, it's eye-opening, and you start to see sort of what the problem is, because it's mostly these single-use plastic items. And in a lot of cases, those are the kinds of items that we actually want to try to get rid of, because they're frankly unnecessary. So, we see this plastic at the beach. We can only pick up so much of it. We know that ultimately isn't going to solve the problem. It's a kind of a reactive strategy to the plastic pollution problem. And we're picking up a tiny fraction of the, over 8 million tons a year that's flowing into our oceans from our coasts around the globe. So what else is Surfrider doing to try to get ahead of this problem besides just picking up trash at the beach?
Well, we're still working on policy. We've definitely not slowed down on that front. As you mentioned, with foodware, we're seeing a lot more plastic foodware on the beach, and we just released a comprehensive foodware policy toolkit. And that toolkit is something that our chapter volunteers all over the country can read, and they can take to their legislators and really get to know all of the best practices for introducing foodware bills.
I think it's really important, if we're going to talk about getting rid of single-use foodware and reusables, that we address COVID. And there was a lot of fear at the front end about COVID in surfaces, and we saw rollbacks on some of our plastic regulation and people less reusables being used. So maybe you can talk a little bit about sort of what we've learned and the fact that reusables are safer than we think.
Sure. Yeah, there was so much we didn't know about COVID-19 in the first couple of months. And so at Surfrider, we've been paying a lot of attention to new studies as they come out, and providing information and best practices to our ocean-friendly restaurants and on our coastal blog, letting everyone know that reusables are safe, so long as reusables are washed according to the standard sanitary code that most states have in place.
Over the last decade or more, the Surfrider Foundation has been advocating, we started at the local level with bag bans and straw bans, and then we've been able to move up and get some legislation passed at the state level, in California, Oregon, along the East Coast. And now it's pretty exciting, because we have an opportunity to try to advance some plastic pollution policy at the federal level. to kind of address the whole country, which is pretty significant. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, what it's trying to accomplish, and sort of what we can do to try to advance plastic pollution reduction at the federal level.
So the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act addresses all of those things that we've already talked about, puts a moratorium on export of plastic waste internationally, puts a moratorium on the issuing permits for new plastic production facilities, and it has a producer responsibility requirement that requires producers to be held accountable for the cost of recycling, disposal, and cleanup of their packaging. That's a big game changer.
I think there's a couple of things in there, like plastic is too cheap. And so, and I think this extended producer responsibility is so important. You think about it, whatever food company gets to produce this really cheap bag or package, they sell it to us, you get stuck with the trash, you throw it in your municipal waste or down at the beach at a trash can, or worse, it ends up in the ocean, and all of those costs are taken on by the public, right? Either we're paying for our trash and our solid waste management, which is the best solution, recycling, which we're paying for, or the economic impacts or the cost of cleaning it up if it's out in the environment. Mm-hmm. So the producers get off cheap, and the real cost of that plastic pollution is passed on to the environment and to the public. So I think that's really significant.
So Chad, can you tell us a little bit about the Better Beach Alliance and how that leads to policy?
Sure. The Surfrider Foundation got together with Reef, the sandal company, who really wanted to make a difference on our beaches, which is where we tend to wear our flip-flops and sandals. And we formed the Better Beach Alliance. And the basic idea behind the Better Beach Alliance was to aggregate the information from Surfrider's beach cleanups all across the country, start collecting data about what we're finding on our beaches, and then we'll use that data to inform policy. So prior to the Better Beach Alliance, we were doing hundreds and hundreds of beach cleanups around the country, but we weren't really aggregating the data. Thanks to Reef and Cliff Bar's support, we now, last year, for example, did over 900 beach cleanups. We had almost 50,000 volunteers participate, picked up over 200,000 pounds of trash, and we categorized that litter. So now we know what the top items are. So things like small fragments of plastic, wrappers, cigarette butts, bags, and also use that data to justify the importance of these policies for getting this litter off the beach, because we know from the beach it ultimately ends up in the ocean.
Thanks, Chad. It's great to see that Surfrider is collecting all of that data. And I really love all the graphics that Surfrider's been creating based on that data.
Yeah, it really shows what we're finding out there. So yeah, it's a great project. It was great having you on The Current. Thank you for informing all the policy work we're doing. Appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to get more involved with the Surfrider Foundation, tackle plastic pollution, get out there and do a solo beach cleanup, or become a member, join us at surfrider.org. And thank you for listening.